Hey everyone, but I'm here again, and today, well, we are going to have a deck profile, the true Draco deck profile, per se. Some of you guys might have heard Felix, a friend of mine on this channel, mention fighting against this deck in the past, and he keeps saying that it's ridiculous, he hates playing against it, but at the same time he loves it, he finds it very powerful, blah blah blah. Well, basically, here's the profile. This is the non-budget version. There is obviously a more budget version. I will help you guys out with that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. But I will go, without further ado, into the profile. So this is a 45 card deck, 43 card deck, something like that. It's always lower than 45, but always more than 40. I keep changing the amount. It's ridiculous, I know, but whatever. Here we go. We have... The rest of the box just fell. There we go. We have Dynamite Knight, the true Draco fighter. Very powerful, very, very needed. Obviously, having more than one would be nice, but it's not that necessary yet. More than two, I mean. If they brought it back to two, I would be happy, you know. But whatever. So we have the Dynamite Knight guy, which searches your traps. We have Ignis Heat, the true Draco warrior, 3 times, searches your spells. You need to have this guy because searching spells is basically what makes you draw in this deck. Also, mentioning quickly, 2500 is your best beater for the true Dracos because he gains 300 with diagrams. So 28 is very necessary. Very necessary. 27 is not something you scoff at. We have Majesty Maiden, the true Draco caster, 3 times. You don't want to have her on your field, but you would prefer her to not having any monsters to summon. Also, she can search your other guys, so that's pretty good. And, well, 2600 with the field is not something laughable, you know? It's pretty decent. We have some very fun stuff. We have the Inspector Border Trio. So this is insanely good in this deck. Honestly, you don't care if you don't get your monster's effect, if you can stop your opponent from using their effects and just beat them down every turn. You basically summon this before you summon anything else. No one gets to use any hand traps anymore. Who cares at this point? Also, this stops a few other cards like Burning Abyss. That's a very good way of beating them down. Then you just activate your spell or your trap, whatever, tribute that card to summon one of these, get the effect from the tribute, and you have another beater. Take it. That is insane. This is what makes Felix flip most of the time, and most of my opponents do not enjoy playing against this. I even convinced a lot of people to start playing this card to my own demise, but playing with this deck, I don't mind playing against this card either. We have the one hand trap in the monsters. We have 3 effect veilers. This is very good in this meta. You don't really need to play Ghost Ogre anymore. Playing Reaper is more of a side deck card. You could play Ash, but I play Ash as my side deck cards. You'll see the side deck later on. But yeah, effect veiler is very good. You can stop a lot of effects with this. It's actually stops a lot of combos. It's ridiculous. Like, your opponent goes into a monster that has the effect of special summoning something else. Use this, you stop the special summon, they use their normal summon, they have nothing. They have nothing. So, Effect Veiler, very, very good. We have a little bit of spice, because not a lot of people play these cards in the True Dracos, but I do love playing these in there. We have 2 Cyber Dragons, very good to get rid of your opponent's big boss monsters, especially in the current meta, where you're fighting against Lunalights, which is something I love playing myself, and Felix loves playing too. When they get their big boss monster, if they weren't wise enough, especially since they don't suspect you to play these kinds of things, if they weren't wise enough, they're going to have it in the extra monster zone, and you can't go over that. It's not targetable, it's not destroyable by effect, it's over 3000 attack. You don't have any outs to that, so Cyber Dragon is a very good out for that purpose. You need to play 2. Obviously, you play Mega Fleet in here, but it's also good against Ancient Gears. It's good against your own opponents, which are Cyber Dragons sometimes. When they have Infinity on the field, boom, steal. When you play against Invoked, which is something that still pops up in the meta, just steal their Mekabas before they negate your spells and traps, because if they negate them with Mekaba, they're banished. They're not sent to the grave. You don't get your effect. Cyber Dragon is good with that. Also, when you steal and you make Mega Fleet, you can tribute Mega Fleet for your True Draco monsters. So it's easy peasy, under control. We also have one Pankratops in the main deck. I just like playing it. It's a 2600 beat stick, and even if you control a monster, unlike Cyber Dragon and Border, you can still summon this. And it's a quick effect to tribute itself and pop something, so it's very good. Yeah, it goes very well with the deck. You can tribute it for its own effect. You can tribute it for a summon. You can use it as a beat stick. You can use it to pop stuff that's annoying, whether it be monsters or back row. Very good card in general. We have our spells. 3 Dragonic Diagram. Beautiful card, beautiful effect, mean to a lot of people, but you gotta play this in this deck. True Dracos and True King monsters on the field, so both players watch out for mirror matches, gain 300 attack and defense, and each time each tribute summon True Draco or True King monster would be destroyed by battle. Each turn it is not destroyed. That also applies to both players. It does not say your tribute summon True Dracos, but whatever. Once per turn you can destroy another card you control and search. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. We have 2 terraformings because you gotta play 2 terraformings. That's just how it goes. You need to search. We have True Draco Heritage 3 times. Obvious. Draw power. Obvious. Summon ability. Obvious. Pop-in ability. So yeah, just play it. I mean, you don't have much choice. Why would you not play 3? But actually very, very good card. You can combo yourself with your own destruction, your own tributing, and whatever to get this going. If you use your field spell, do set your spell or trap before popping it instead of popping it in your hand, because this is from the field to the grave. We have Disciples of the True Draco Phoenix, so 3 times that card too. Recycles your shit, but also allows you to draw, pop, and summon. Very, very useful card in here. You don't want to draw this, you want to search it more than anything, but drawing this and your Dragonic Diagram, you could always just set, pop, search that, draw 1. It's a free +1 basically. So yeah, and your deck mills faster, so it's always very good. And you pop back row at the same time. We have Pot of Duality 3 times. Obviously, playing Pankratops and Cyber Dragon is limited to 3 of them in total because of Pot of Duality. When you play this, you can't special summon. So, that's kind of limiting. But usually when you draw this or those other options, you know what you need to play the most out of the 2. When your opponent has a big boss monster, you will go for the monster. When your opponent doesn't have anything or you're going first, go with Pot of Duality. We only play 3 because when you're going first, you want to have something playable. And so if you draw 2 Cyber Dragons and a Pankratops, you don't want to have a 4th one of those at the same time because you're going to brick. And you don't want to brick in this deck. But you can always play more if you have to. We have Instant Fusion, a very good card in this deck. You will see the targets soon, but this is insanely good in here. Pay 1,000, summon something, use that thing's effect, then tribute that thing to summon a True Draco. Boom. You got a good chance at winning now. You can steal stuff, you can flip stuff, you can block stuff, you can tribute stuff. You can do a lot of things with Instant Fusion. I would play more than 1, but at the same time, starting the game with more than 1 in your hand is awful because you can only play 1 per turn. And if you draw this but no True Dracos, you're stuck. So it's a 1 of, maybe a 2 of if you want to. Depends on your budget, depends on your build. But this is a very good card for the deck. We have 2 Called by the Graves. You can even play a 3rd one, but at the same time, drawing 3 kind of harsh for your own good at least. But yeah, 2 is plenty. Honestly, you're not too afraid of hand traps as long as you have your monster in the field. If they negate it for a turn, you can still have the next turn, and that's what matters the most in here. And even if they Ghost Ogre you and you don't have your monster on the field anymore, usually with your spells, you can draw or recycle because they're in the grave. So, yeah, you don't really mind. It might slow you down, it might not. You don't know yet. 1 True King's Return. If it was at more than 1, I would probably play more than 1. But, having 1 is plenty, I find. Maybe 2 would be best. But yeah, it's a very good card. You can special summon your monsters back, but they don't have their own effects anymore because most of the monsters' effects is when they are tribute summoned that they get their effects. But still, that gives you some defense. It gives you a tribute target. It gives you a lot of options. And you have the obvious popping and summoning effects, which are very good. We have True Draco Apocalypse, a mean one, if you ask me. This is very, very good against a lot of different decks. As long as the opponent's monster is affected by your spell and trap effects, their attack will be halved. That is mean, because that is permanent. It is permanent. It's not until the end of the turn. So if your opponent attacks you with, I don't know, a big boss monster, I don't know which one. Let's just say your opponent uses Zeger and attacks for 42 on you because for some reason that's the only monster he had. And you had a 2600 attack monster, that's like the lowest True Draco. If you use this on one of your spells, not only will you pop a back row from your opponent's field, but at the same time, that 42 becomes a 21 and you're at 26, so boom! You basically win the battle, and next turn they have one fewer monster on their field. And even if this leaves the field, you will still get the lowering effect, and if your opponent for some reason manages to not attack anymore, or whatever, well, the attack stays lowered, so you can still attack their monster on the next turn. So it's pretty cool. We have Fiendish Chain 3 times, because this current meta is a lot of monster effects, and this stomps those. It's also a continuous trap. I've been playing against some heroes sometimes, and Dark Law is a pain in the butt against this deck because you need your cards to reach the grave to get your effects and your recycling and your drawing. But this stops Dark Law, and you can always just tribute this to summon your bigger monsters to go over Dark Law. So very, very, very relevant in this deck, honestly. Very good to stall, very good to win. We have Skill Drain, which is Fiendish Chain, but generalized. This affects your own monsters, though. But this won't necessarily stop every monster effect. Only the ones that activate on the field, you know? Only the ones that resolve on the field, too, I believe. But anyways, this won't stop them from using their costs or whatever like that. It just negates the effect, not the activation. So do beware about that. But that is a very good card nonetheless. You need to play this in this deck. We have Imperial Order. Yes, it negates your field. Yes, it negates your own spells. But only on the field. So if you tribute your spells to summon a monster, you do get the pop-in effect. And that is very nice in this deck. It helped me a lot against a few opponents who were playing some field spells themselves and whatever. I could negate their field spell and pop it before they could even do anything. So that is very relevant. We have the expensive part, 2 infinite impermanences. We don't play a lot of hand trap monsters, but we do play these ones instead because it's something that you can play face down as well, which is always very useful. But, you know, this has a few other uses, and instead of using Ash Blossoms and stuff like that, which are only once per turn, this you can actually play more than one per turn. So if you draw the 2 of them on your first turn, you can negate 2 of your opponent's cards. That's actually very good. It's not like Ash where you can only play 1 and then you brick with the 1 or 2 other ones you had in your hand if you drew all of them. So this is actually very, very useful. It's very expensive, but it will be reprinted soon enough. And our final main deck card, we have Solemn Warning. This stomps a lot of decks. When your opponent is about to summon a big monster, or they're about to start a big chain of events with one summon, this stomps everything. This also is able to stop fusion summons, unlike, most of the fusion summons that Solemn Strike can't stop. This can. So very, very relevant, very, very needed. And it's only a 1 of, and you do have 50% chances of going first, so that is a very good card. But if you're able to stall your opponent on the first turn with other cards, which this deck does quite often, you can always use this other turns when your opponents are trying to do some comebacks or whatever. So a quick look at the extra deck. We have Thousand Eyes Restrict for the instant fusion target. Steal an opponent's monster, but you can't attack if this is still in the field, so tribute it for a True Draco, attack with the True Draco. Boom, voila, done. We have Invoked Raijin. Very good effect for flipping face down. You can flip himself face down to protect him. You can flip your opponent's monsters face down. You can flip a face down monster and then tribute it to get another True Draco on the field, which is also very nasty to do. We have our Cyber Dragon fusions with Mega Fleet. We have Fortress because you might play against, well, there are a lot more machine decks nowadays than there used to be, but you could play against Ancient Gear, you could play against Cyber Dragons, you can play against Invoked. Since you only play 2 of these, might as well play one of these in case you do find a way to bring back your Cyber Dragon for X reason. You don't know yet what's going to happen. So it's a very decent option. There will be some more machine eventually. I think Sky Striker Link monsters are machine too, so you can steal those. You can steal your opponent's borders. Inspector border can be stolen with this. And yeah, I mean, just steal it. Whatever. If they're not in the main monster zone, if they're not in the extra monster zone, this can go in the main monster zone, which is also a very good reason why to have this. We have a few other cards, which are targets for Ghost Reaper. We have Isolde because relevant, Summon relevant, Trisbana relevant, Nova relevant, Darklaw relevant. Obviously, you should also have some Borals in there, like Boral's Sword and Savage. Maybe, I'm not sure it's going to be played that much, but Boral Load and Boral Sword are going to be very important to have in here if you can manage to get them. But, you know, that's just 10 cards. You still have 5 more places where you could put some stuff. You could put Mekabas, but you usually don't really care about Mekabas. But you could. You could easily put some Salamangreat stuff because those are coming out or they're already out. I don't know when this video is going to be exactly uploaded, but it's pretty soon. And so the side deck, this is not a complete one. Obviously, I'm not really playing competitive either, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend you guys to play the most competitive version of this deck, but do play some Reapers. Like, they're very useful in here. You can play 2, you can play 3, whichever you want. I do prefer playing 2 because fewer chances of bricking, and you know, it's just a very good card overall. You have 3 Ash Blossoms. Yes, I usually play 2 in my main decks, but this time around I don't. So if I know I'm going second, or I expect to go second, Ash Blossom very relevant against the meta. It's about to be a common from the Salamangreat deck, so We have Pankratops and Sphere Mode. This obviously is a 1 of or 2 of in your side deck, but this is just so good in here. You have so much versatility out of this. It's insane. And you have Monarch Stormforth. It's back to 3. Why the hell not? I only put 1 in here just for showing off to you guys that you can play it. And we have Evenly Matched. I only put 1 for the same reason, but it's also something you could easily play. It's also a hand trap, so yippee. But yeah, you could also easily play Anti-Spell Fragrance, Rivalry. What else did I... Yeah, that's pretty much what you could play. Anti-Spell Fragrance, Rivalry, just some random stuff that I put there just for the fun of it. You could play Monster Reborn if you want, but you won't get your monster effects, so that's not too good. But if you pop an opponent's monster and you can steal it, that's pretty awesome. But, you know, just play as budget as you can, or play as competitive as you can. Do what you feel. But I do think that this is a very good, very capable version of the deck. Rare are the opponents that I don't have an out to, and that's basically how I make my decks usually. I think of the worst challenge I would have to face, and I need to have at least 1 or 2 outs to that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's vid. I know it was fun for me. I mean, I've been playing this deck for a long time. Ask Felix, he knows. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. It's been a pleasure, and Panam out.